How you doing, everybody? It's Rock here. Well, I just returned to Florida from Minneapolis, St. Paul, where I'm born and raised, and I met with my 100-year-old father, who's got it. He's still got it. Out of respect, I went to visit him special because I'll be traveling overseas over the next few months, and we just tried to catch up. I had a few objectives to meet. Not only my father, my brothers, my sisters. I'm one of 11 children. We're all alive. And we're all different. And I'm in the middle of the pack. And I also have 3 children. And my father's taught me a lot about faith and family, business, leadership, guidance, appreciation, gratitude, giving back. What I'm saying is a legacy. And that was my objective, was to share with my father, to appreciate what he's done for me before either one of us passes away. And as you know, I'm on YouTube, I'm on TikTok, and I goof around a lot. But this video is more or less something that I didn't expect on this trip. My father and I have worked together for at least 15 years. I was his successor. And he was a great coach, mentor, leader, father. My mother was all rolled into one. We basically had a family business. So I had some anxiety. I had anxiety thinking about my dad and saying, should I take some photos? Should I do a video on him? I was asked to do an interview of my father for a documentary for Italians and so on, and The Greatest Generation. And I asked him if he was interested. I was interested so he could keep it, for life. So I asked him, and he said, no, I'm not interested. So I let it go. And in our tradition is when you go visit with somebody, you always bring something out of respect. I don't care if it's a potluck or a bottle of wine or a cigar for my father, whatever it was. But my father and I had kind of a unique interest in colognes. He's Italian, 11 children, 1 wife, 1 mother of the 11, no twins. Like he was a real stud. And he likes cologne. And he likes Italian cologne. So before I went to visit him, he's the type of guy, he's got an iPhone, so we'll text each other. I said, Dad, I'm in town. When would you like me to come up? Because I wanted to respect his time, if he was feeling up to it, And he said, yeah, come on over. And it was a Thursday night. The first time I went to see him was a Thursday night. And he likes football. And so we watched, under Prime, a football game that was muted. We just muted it and just talked. And we talked about the past. We talked about our children, his grandchildren, my brothers and sisters, what life is like as you age. I mean, I'm in my 70s, and he's in his, he'll be 100 in February. He's surpassed everyone in our relatives when it comes down to age. And I was brought up in the Italian traditions. My mother was Polish. However, everything we did was Italian. Italian food, Italian grace, Italian music, Christmas celebrations. It's very traditional because my parents were both born in Chicago, and everything was tradition from The Greatest Generation. Because that was, at that time, it was respect. It was respect. And so I didn't know what to expect from my father. I didn't know if we were going to talk about some issues or solutions or some of our past disagreements or disputes, which we've had. No, it was just really normal and natural. And Besides the cologne, I brought him some Italian bread. I went to an Italian grocery store, picked up some olives that were stuffed with feta and some bread, Italian bread that I know he would appreciate. And my father still got it. His brains, man. You would not know he's 100 years old, except that he does have a walker, and he wanted to prove to me that he didn't need it. I was pretty scared when he got up a couple times to show me that he could still get up. So we had some laughs, man. And it was so normal. And he would complain or basically judge the football players and say, well, he missed that. He should have scored. He should have kicked that field goal. Or, it was interesting. It was interesting, that he still had it. Strategically, he knew the players. He was sharp. And I'm glad we had it muted, because otherwise it'd be at 100 decibels or whatever it is on those TVs. But he lives alone. My mother passed away 5 years ago. We talked about mom, okay? We talked about legacy. We talked about estate planning. We talked about gratitude. We talked about appreciation. We talked about being blessed. We talked about being lucky. Is my father afraid to die? I don't think so. He knows it's around the corner, but he still has a routine. And he believes in you got to keep moving. That's why he would get up. That's why he would walk. He picked up he went to the kitchen and he picked up 3 different types of peanuts. I was scared he was going to fall, but he came over. I went over, helped him out, made sure he was safe, and watched the game. And I had a glass of Chardonnay. He had his Diet Pep. That's what he calls Diet Pepsi. Diet Pep. And he said a couple things that really touched me on the way out. And I'll never forget it. He said that our visit, it was a nice visit. And he said, I hope I see you again. Because he knows I'm going overseas and I had other commitments over the next few days. So we made a bet on Monday Night Football. And, of course, he took the team that had the 6 points. And that was Monday Night Football. So I went back and on Monday, very happy that I met with him. Because I want to make sure that I have no regrets with my father, And before I go into Monday, I sat down with my 2 sons, age 48 and age 46. And I made a special time at a special restaurant. To me, it was a big deal. It was like what my father would do back in the day when I worked with him, which was passing on the torch, passing on the succession. It was time for me to tell my boys, these are my wishes. This is what I like to see. And I would hope that they would fulfill my wishes, my estate plan, not only with their sister, but with my grandchildren, because that's what I want to do. Plus, I have a foundation. And all this was taught to me by my father over the years about passing on your wisdom, not only your finance, but your wisdom, your tradition, your legacies of giving back. And part of it is the faith. And I am so fucking proud that I got great boys, man. And they're great fathers and great parents. And that's what I want to be known as great dad. Because my dad was a great dad. So anyway, saw the grandkids. I am so pumped up about these grandkids, man. I got 2 in college, a boy and a girl. And I have 2 boys in grade school. And they all look at each other with respect. Even that age difference is so beautiful. And my 2 boys are really great guys. So I want to go back to Monday night. So I went back to see my father on Monday night, and I brought, now that I know what type of pistachios he likes and types of almonds and so on, I went and, of course, picked up something to share with him. So I went back, and we watched the game. We muted the game, and we just kept talking. And he had a glass of Chardonnay this time. I was surprised. He goes, come on, let's have a glass of Chardonnay. He actually had me open a bottle. He had a different bottle open, and he said, no, let's open up this bottle. So once again, the first time I was there was like 3.5 hours, and this was maybe 2-3 hours that we sat and talked, and just nothing else to do but just talk about the past and the future. We talked about his visit back to Florida. He's got a condo in Florida he wants to go to, and he knows I'm going overseas, so he brought that up more than once. We talked about a couple solutions for him to enjoy his last chapter, per se. He still wants to get up and move around and maybe get a driver so he can continue his routine. And so once again, it was enjoyable. And not only that, I went to kiss him goodbye, and so that's very traditional in our family, kiss goodbye. While I was in his chair, I'll never forget, put my arms around him while he was seated, kissed him, and I told him in his ear that I loved him. And my dad's not the type to say lovey-dovey stuff. I just knowing him, that he's got to be stoic and strong. That's the day of the baby boomers. There's not many left, as you know. So, told him I loved him. Game was over. I had to pay him the $1. I had to open up the drawer that he's got, all his winnings, $1 bills and a bunch of quarters and stuff, because he plays cribbage with my sister. So the rich get richer. So walked out the door. He said the same thing. I hope I see you again. I know what that meant. So anyway, I flew back the next day. No, I flew back Wednesday morning. So once I got back, I started thinking about him. I got back to Florida, and usually my routine is wash clothes, watch a ball game. I'm a big baseball guy. Watch a ball game. Playoffs are coming around. And now hockey and, of course, football. And I decided to text him. And I text him to thank him for the great time that we had together. And we share this same prayer from Padre Pio. It's hope, pray, and don't worry. So we always comment that. But I added to this text because, like I said, it's a text. He's got an iPhone. I got an iPhone. I mentioned to him that thanks for the foundation, Dad. You and Ma were great parents. You're a great man, a great dad. And I appreciate what you and Ma did for me and for us. And he sent back again. I hope to see you again. Love, Dad. I got it. So that's what I wanted to share. I know this is for YouTube, but I also want other people to know how important it is to have that opportunity to at least share something with your parents. And I've been so fortunate to have great parents, a mother and a father, along with my 10 brothers and sisters. And where's all our time? Our time is spent as we get older with brothers and sisters. Why? Because we share all that history, all those experiences. And my dad never wanted a family that was ununited. You needed to be united. But I believe my Father knows that not everybody is going to share in that unity. But my parents really worked hard to make sure everything was fair. But my dad also mentioned to me in this is try to help the underprivileged, or the ones that don't have the opportunities that were presented to them. Not everybody does. I have 3 kids. They're not all the same. Their opportunities are different. My 4 grandchildren, they're going to be all different. But you try to help. You help the people that need help. And that's what my parents did. Why? Because they were poor. When they were raised, they were poor. They became fortunate through hard work. And then they just passed it on to underprivileged, to the poor. My mother was always helping the poor. And pass that on to my father. And that was their unification, is let's help the poor, the unfortunate, the underprivileged, not the entitled. So I really noticed the compassion, the empathy, the faith, how much my dad misses my mom. So that's what I wanted to share, because this will be on YouTube, and I know my grandchildren someday will listen to Papa Rock. I'm Papa Rock. Yes, that's my birth name, Rock, R-O-C-K. One of 11 children. My parents just ran out of names. But you know what? My mother always told me, because I hated my name when I was young, because the bullying. And my mother would say, you know, someday you're going to love your name. And to this day, I've trademarked my name. That's right. It's a trademark. It's a register mark. And I'm passing that on to my kids and my legacies. So that's what this one's about, is I have no regrets with my father or my mother. I could only say thank you with gratitude. And I prayed about this because I didn't know if my father was going to be upset, or if he had some other issue going on with, Rock, you're the golden one. You should know better. I didn't get any of that, because I was his successor, and I did things differently than my parents, besides the divorces, which I'm very aware of my past. But if my dad only knew how I survived that shit, because I never passed it on to him, because the word was always bring joy, and that was my issue. Bring joy, not trouble. So that's this session, legacy. And I always talk about what I believe are the 5 pillars. And the 5 pillars are the foundation, which is my parents, my coaches, my education, and so on. Number 2 pillar is mastery. You master your profession, your career, your purpose, your passion. Number 3 is the transformation, because eventually you're going to transform yourself into different chapters, and like I've done. You know, now that I'm in my 70s, I'm basically in the transition of retirement, but guess what? I'm not going to retire per se. I'm going to keep growing. And that's where you're at. And then when you transform, and you got all these little steps and these little achievements, and you keep moving, you keep growing. You go into independence. Once you become independent, and that could be financially, it could be with peace, it could be with so many different things. And then the last pillar is what I call legacy. What are your legacies? And that's why I met with my boys to say, boys, this is what I want. You think you could team up and help me get through this? So when I'm gone, my grandkids know who Papa Rock was. And that's my role. My role is to be like my father, a good man, and try to do the right thing. Keep your promises and so on. So that's kind of my gig. And I hope this is beneficial for people to take that opportunity and forget the past, forget the disputes. Come up with solutions. Be at peace. even at my past, I've had issues. I was always competitive. But after a while, you start saying, wow, it's okay. And I think that's what I saw in my father. My father actually is at peace. He's actually at peace. I see him a lot different than my 10 brothers and sisters. You know why? I worked with him, so I know. I know what to expect, which is do the right thing. And my dad's going to be fair. When you got over 100 descendants, man, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. And he wouldn't compare, so it's a beautiful thing. So with that, I hope you understand where I'm coming from. That I had the opportunity to really be, once again, educated through my father and seeing him as a role model. And that I implemented and executed some of the things that he taught me over the years. And the number one is health. It's health. And we talk about wealth. That you just pass on, man. And the biggest thing that I see with my father was his commitment and his dedication to his faith and to my mother and to the family. Unbelievable. So God bless. I'll talk to you soon. This is Rocco. Make sure you keep your promises. And think about that legacy that you're going to leave behind. God bless.